asked. He sat down in the chair opposite Hugo, rather as if he owned the place. Hugo, disliking him on sight, flicked open the file. He said crisply, "I'm not finding anything suspicious in his record up to 1939. That's the period that Sir Bernard asked me to investigate. I know during the war he was involved with the Manhattan Project at Los Alamos, but the records on that will be elsewhere." Jarrett said, "I'm well aware of that. I want to know about the time when he was a student and doing his first research jobs. He wasn't at Cambridge, that's one thing." Hugo suppressed a smile. Since Burgess and Maclean's defection, the equation in too many corners of the intelligence community had been laughably simple. Cambridge had been a hotbed of communist sympathies in the 1930s. The service's two most embarrassing defectors were Cambridge men. Ergo, if there were any suspicion of treachery, Cambridge was probably at the bottom of it. No, he was an Oxford man, Pembroke College, first in physics, 1921, then on to the Roberts Laboratory to work on electron physics. Jarrett said, "Of course, while we know that Cambridge bred spies, no reason to suppose that there weren't just as many at Oxford." "Perhaps the Oxford spies are clever enough to avoid detection," Hugo said. He disliked the way Jarrett's eyes lit up at the possibility of finding more traitors, as if that was something to be relished. "Treason is no laughing matter. If you haven't found Rothesay's communist links, you just haven't looked hard enough. Given that someone is clearly passing information from Foxley, I'd expect you to have left no stone unturned to discover the sympathies of the people working there." Hugo said, "I've been working my way through all the records, and I must say I'm surprised about Bruno Rothesay. From his record, his history, and his known political views, he wasn't high on anyone's list of suspects. That just shows how wrong you can be, letting opinions get in the way of the facts. Man's defected, that's quite clear. He'll have skipped the country now with that wife of his." Hugo said, "I'm surprised the whole thing was allowed to reach the papers. I'd have expected it would have been kept under wraps until it was known for certain that he'd defected." Jarrett frowned. "That's what I'd have done. My lord and master, Chief Superintendent Pritchard, decided that the publicity might help catch him before he left the country. But it's nonsense." His tone suggested that this Pritchard was overdue for retirement, possibly involuntary. Hugo said, "You think his wife is with him?" "Certainly. She's obviously in this with him. We've been investigating her background. She seemed blameless enough, but she must be involved. No living relatives, nothing she couldn't leave in a hurry. She telephoned the laboratory 3 days ago to say that he was ill and wouldn't be in. That's why it took a while for the alarm to be raised." Hugo knew this already from Superintendent MacLeod, the local police officer who was involved in the inquiry. On the second day, in accordance with Foxley regulations, 2 colleagues from the Atomic had gone to Rothesay's cottage on the outskirts of Selchester to check what was wrong with him and see that he was getting proper medical attention. There had been no reply to their knocks. The house had a deserted air, with curtains drawn and lights out. In the end, they had broken in. "Nobody there," MacLeod had said. "Everything neat and tidy. He must have left early. The breakfast things were washed up on the draining board. Post from that day and the day before lying on the mat. Wherever he is, he hasn't been at home ill." "Damn sloppy to leave it 2 days," Jarrett said sourly. "Bunch of amateurs. You've gone slack down here in the sticks." "Perhaps," said Hugo, fixing a cold eye back on him, "you can advise the select committee as to which operations should be closed down to free up some extra funds." Jarrett ignored him. "But then you've had quite your share of security breaches here, too. A double agent right under your nose, and weren't you suspended from the service yourself in the autumn? Meeting a known MGB officer without permission?" Hugo had indeed met Colonel Orloff without permission, and found him considerably better company than Jarrett. He had a concern for what was right and what was not. God only knew how he'd held on to such a sense in the end.